Hi, this is Allie with Mystic and the Monk. I'm a mystic and I work as a psychic healer, and I help people to go through their awakening process and solve problems where we get into trauma loops or we have skips in our record, where we aren't able to fully love ourselves or forgive the world around us. And we make our problems something that are outside of us instead of something that really is happening inside of us. So today I wanted to talk to you about a really interesting past life regression session that I had with my client. And she's really open to me sharing this with you, and I think that it's helpful. So when we started the session, we were able to get into the time and space that we were trying to reach pretty quickly. So basically, we tried to bring you back, which is really easy for me because I can see basically the same thing that my client is seeing, and then I can share what I'm seeing, and they're seeing it in their head at the same time. So it makes them maybe more trustworthy because they know that I'm not inside of their head. So if I can see what they're seeing in their mind, then it makes them feel like they can trust what's happening. So we started this session, and right away she knew that she was high on a cliffside in Maui, and she wasn't able to get to her grandma. So this is a dream that she has had repeating in her memory for actual dreams her whole life. And so what was really cool is that I could see the exact town in Maui that she was talking about. I was like, is it this town? She's like, oh my God, yes. So when I had gone through that town about 6 months ago, it had a definite pull on my system. It was a very small little community, and I was very high. So I remember noticing it, and it just hit me. So when she mentioned that she was in Maui, I'm like, does it look like this? And she's like, yes. So she said, so since I was a kid, I had this memory of having this dream repeatedly coming up in my life, and I never could resolve it, and I was always trying to get to my grandma. So I asked her to go forward and see what she saw, and she's like, I don't see anything but just emptiness, right? I see the coastline, but I don't see anything. And I'm like, go backwards. And she said, well, I see grass huts. So in my mind, my guidance, which I call the Holy Spirit, said she's actually a ghost in present time, basically because she died in shock. She thinks she's alive, and so it comes through as a dream, but really she's a young man sitting on a cliffside, and she can't find her grandma because there was a tsunami. And she ran, or he ran away from the wave, in shock and in flurry, and ran without Granny. And so the wave, I'm sure, took Granny, but also took her life. And so, not knowing that she had died, she got stuck in between worlds, and was really part of her soul fragment has been sitting on this cliff for a long time. Not as long as some of the things we would cover, actually relatively short time. But the amazing thing is that I saw a tsunami come, and then my guidance told me it was in the 1940s. The thing is that when you think about quantum fields, and all things are possible, you might not be able to find exactly in history a match for your past lives, because on our time-space continuum, we see things as is our history or history. But other things could have happened in other time-space realities. So I try not to do too much research on what I see, and mostly just understand the connection that the experience has for the client that I'm working with to common themes that are happening in their emotional being. Because really, past lives aren't that important as some kind of sideshow kick that it's like, wow, I was this person, or who was I in my past life? Past life regression for me has to do with what do I need to uncover in my personality that needs healing. And it's usually what have I not integrated? What have I not accepted? And when we die traumatically or we die in shock, very oftentimes we've got to skip in the record in our the time-space continuum of all that we are. So what was so amazing about this is that a lot of these feelings of being ashamed or feeling guilty or feeling like the kinds of things somebody would feel if they had run for safety but not checked to see if their loved one was coming with, was a theme for this person's personality. And so it was so exciting when we went to retrieve that part of her that was this young man who was really just lost between worlds, not really knowing that he had died and just feeling lost, and she could only access him sometimes through her dream state. So it was really exciting as Spirit walked us through the process and the self-forgiveness of just being human, you know, and going through this experience, feeling like she had failed or betrayed or abandoned her granny, and never being able to reach her in the dream. It's kind of like those school dreams that, or waitress dreams, that you just can't get whatever is needed to your classroom, or you can't get the food to your clients. She was just feeling like, I'm always coming down to this town and I never can get to Granny. So what was really interesting is we went through the process of bringing her back to herself, and how beautiful it is when we reintegrate a lost part of ourself. I call it soul retrieval. When we reintegrate this lost part of ourself into our whole, what comes with it is what you can't access when that part of the spirit is in shame. Because this young man had a lot of really amazing attributes of leadership and kindness and responsibility and ingenuity and so many things that I could feel in his personality. But when we feel guilt or shame, we're cut off from those character aspects. And it's harder for us to see them in ourselves if we're looping from another lifetime where we couldn't access it. So it was really fun to see her light up as she pulled these parts of herself back. And it's not just for this third dimension, it's for the all-time. So, you know, we're healing in the past and we're healing in the future. And so we can access these attributes. And in so many of these past lives that I do, the reason why it's so exciting and thrilling is that when we're in our trauma loops and we're experiencing the pain, we don't realize that we're missing a vital part of us that maybe we've already worked on, or we already contain those qualities. We think it's much harder to recover, or we have to really work with the mind to become that person that maybe we already are, but there's a circumstance in our life story or the story of our soul that it's that close, you know, that when we feel the love of what we really are, when we feel our macrocosmic soul. It sounds complicated, I suppose, what I'm saying, but when you're working with me, it feels so right. That's the reoccurring theme that I would say most people feel is like, oh my gosh, this is what I want. This is what I've been working for my whole life, and it's right here. And you know, it's all happening in like an hour session or an hour and a half session, when really some people have been trying to recover these parts of themselves for 20 years in counseling. So I really believe in the soul work because it's transformative. First of all, it's a breakthrough, right? And secondly, it's completely transformative to your now. Because when you can be self-forgiving, when you can be accepting of your whole self, when you can allow life to have happened to you, and a lot of the stuff, you know, that pretty much all the stuff that gets stuck in the net of our past lives is some sort of skip in the record, you know. When we recover that and we bring kindness and we bring self-love, we have a healing, and that healing is deep. So to make a long story short, she was able to completely, we went back, we went forward, and we came back to the now. And the end result was a woman that looked completely different. And I know that she's going to be feeling the results of this in a more calm presence and deeper connection to herself. So if you're interested in past lives, then I will be listing more here on the channel, and you can come see us at Mystic and the Monk and join our community, and you can also schedule a session with me. So if you're interested in that, we'll leave links in the video. And I just want to thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to being with you in the next video. Thank you.